Well, thank you everybody for giving me your time and learning a little bit about I&E at Duke. So I have some framing of what to go a little bit deeper on. Do we have undergrads in the room? Okay, and then the rest do you have graduate students? And then staff, are there any staff or faculty? Okay. All right, so I will try my best to hit on all the different areas and highlight those as I go through. Things that would be relevant to those populations, and due to some short time, I may miss something, so ask in the Q&A, and then at the end I have some contact information for all the different people around the initiative that could really dive in deep with you and answer a lot of your questions. What I hope to do is just give you the spirit of what I&E is, go through some of the offerings, and then the upcoming opportunities for you to engage with us. So why energy and why I&E? Energy is a complex problem with great need as we look into the future, and what more of a better way to apply the ideas of innovation and entrepreneurship to figure out ways as we can become agents of change to translate the ideas that you are creating or researching or learning about at the university through that entrepreneurial spirit, and then have a positive impact on society. And that really highlights what the mission of the I&E is. We want to help the university become a change agent so that the faculty, staff, and students can take their ideas, have a positive impact on real people, real places, and change the world through innovation and entrepreneurship. So as you can see, then that broadens it to everybody. We think that no matter what your area of interest is, whether it's energy in another area, that I&E offerings are for you, and we can help you connect those and partner alongside you. So the best way to illustrate this, I want to do it through a story. So I'll begin our story now, and then we'll put it on pause, and then I'll use it as a closing exercise. So who can tell me what this image is? MRI. So raise your hand if you've had an MRI. Have a unique experience. So what are some of the aspects that come to mind with an MRI? What is your experience? Just a few adjectives or ways to describe the experience.
It's loud and claustrophobic.
Loud and claustrophobic. Anything else? That hits right on the head. I remember when I went in the MRI, they said, here's this squeeze, like when they do blood pressure, if you have any issues, let us know. And I'm like, I don't know why I would need that. I went in for 1 second, and I was hitting that thing, like, get me out, get me out. I need to try that again. So I went in the second time, and I was okay. Well, the story is about Doug Dietz, GE Healthcare lead design engineer for MRI machinery. And so as it goes, he went out with their newest release, the newest innovation out of GE, and went to a pediatrics hospital. And at that hospital, the first patient that came in was a young adolescent. So a young girl came in, and he was going to really experience the praise for his well-designed machine. And what actually happened was the opposite. So right when the young girl comes in, he could see that she's already crying, that her parents are already trying to console her, and that the room itself is tense, and they're really trying to figure out how they're going to get this young girl both on the table and to lay still for the MRI. And it turns out they weren't able to, so they ended up having to sedate her. And he's just really distraught and talks to the individuals in the room, the technicians, and says, is this something that happens all the time? And they said, most of the time we have to sedate our pediatric patients. So when he thought he was going in for the praise and this great invention and this great innovation that he had brought to the field, he realized that he hadn't quite gotten there. So he had to think about, what is he going to do? You obviously can't go back and redesign an MRI. Lots of money and resources went into this. So he had to rethink the problem and come up with an innovative solution. So with that, I'll pause and talk about ways in which we can help you as individuals come up with new ideas and innovative solutions. And we're going to come back to Greg Dietz. So how do we do it? It's a little bit of an organizational chart and a little bit of kind of the big core areas of innovation and entrepreneurship. So we have 4 main areas in which we try to address this around the university. Pillars are a good way to talk about it and a good way to frame it in our mind, but these really intersect and cross over. I'm going to spend a lot of time on social innovation and education, but I'll touch real briefly on translation and research as well. So translation for I&E is really kind of that idea of, at this university, people are doing research, they're learning new techniques, and they're developing new ideas. So how do we take those ideas, those techniques, those new inventions, and actually commercialize them or help people translate those, get them into society and have a positive impact. So we do that through a series of offerings. There's mentoring, coaching, and advising, as well as legal advice, and then at the point where someone would actually need funding, you could actually apply through the Duke Angel Network to be considered for funding. Research that we have in our initiative really focuses on the question of innovation entrepreneurship as a research subject. So what makes innovators and entrepreneurs successful? How do policy decisions affect those innovators and entrepreneurs? So those are the questions that our research group is looking at. I want to talk to you a little bit more about education and social entrepreneurship opportunities, and those are kind of a direct impact where you can jump in and we can spend some time. Again, I'm also going to pull out some specific examples to energy to kind of relate it back, but I really want you to think about how everything we talk about innovation, entrepreneurship, about ways in which you can develop a skill set to address the world's most complex problems can be applied. So if I don't give you an energy example, it's still, you can apply it as we go. So we have, for the undergraduate students, we have an I&E certificate. And this is Experiential Learning certificate. For those of you, after I talk about it, I brought some handouts. If you're interested, I can give those to you. And basically, at an Experiential Learning certificate at Duke, you have a series of 4 courses, 2 experiences, and e-portfolio. So at Duke, you can get a major minor certificate. This is a certificate. And so the uniqueness about this certificate is that you design in the beginning, you design a set of a problem or an area. For example, you could do a problem or an area related to energy. And then you design your coursework and the 2 experiences around that. And that's your scaffolding. And then you summarize and use your learnings related to that in your e-portfolio. So the beginning is your gateway course, and that is your introduction, your ideation course, the lens in which you're going to start to look at your innovation. And then the keystone is your as a business fundamentals course related to entrepreneurship. An elective is your deep dive into a course that's related to what you're trying to study. And the capstone is a project course in which you're actually executing on a project, whether you started that at the beginning or you're joining a team. The experiential learning opportunities are 150 hours and 300-hour minimum experience, and those are hands-on practical opportunities that I'll talk about in a second. And the e-portfolio is what you are doing is summarizing your learning experience and reflecting and sharing that back out to the external constituents, both as a learning tool and as a showcase tool. So what's an experience? It's working at an internship, it's doing an independent project, it's doing research. The idea is that you're actually executing, you're not just listening, you're actually hands-on practical experience. This is something that you have to apply to. There's a series of deadlines depending on where you are in your undergraduate experience. So the next one is for sophomores, and there's an application online that we can help you understand how to fill that out, what we're trying to find out in those questions, and help you do the best you can on that application. We also have the Innovation Entrepreneurship Academy. I'm going to pass these out. This is for everybody, faculty, staff, students, and local community. And the focus of the I&E Academy is on giving hands-on, skills-based workshops on topics related to innovation and entrepreneurship. So I'm going to dive into some of these so you can kind of see how on the surface level they can apply to what you're interested in, and then you can connect them back to things that you could also do that may not necessarily be related to the topic. So Social Entrepreneurship 101, there's a very broad interest in how do we benefit society at Duke. There's a lot of people interested on creating sustainable solutions that are focused on benefiting society. So we do a workshop on social entrepreneurship. We have venture capital, understanding the venture capitalists. So as you develop or are going out and seeking investment, the best thing you should do is understand who you're going to and what a venture capitalist looks for. So we actually have both on I&E and a partner, and John Glushik, who's a member of the Duke Angel Network, as well as his own business he works at. And then we have the Startup Sales Playbook. Everywhere you go, no matter whether you're starting a venture or whether you're selling your ideas, sales and being able to sell your ideas and being able to sell yourself is huge. So we have a workshop focused on the Startup Sales Playbook, but anybody who could come there and wants to learn on business development or selling yourself or selling your ideas is very valuable. Human-centered design, understanding the user, understanding the individuals or the community that you're developing your solution to is core to being successful, whether you're developing an innovation or whether you're developing a new product. So we have a human-centered design for social impact. 3D printing is starting to be more and more prevalent around the university, so coming and understanding how to maximize that for yourself as an individual. There was just an article in Duke Today about doctors printing the hearts of their patients on a 3D printer prior to surgery. So thinking about ways that if you're going to develop something related to a solution to an energy problem, how you could leverage 3D printing for that. User experience, whether that's an app, whether that's a website, whether someone's working for you who is developing that, you really need to understand what is good user design, what is a good interaction that you want people to have with whatever you design. So we have a user experience workshop to help you through that. And then iterative prototyping, whether a lot of people who are in engineering are really familiar with this, but a lot of what we think about as we create ideation innovation is getting a minimum viable product, getting a prototype out, letting people interact with that, getting feedback, and really developing a customer base. So we have 3 entrepreneurs coming in, 2 local and 1 an alum, running a session on how do they use iterative prototyping to fail fast, learn, and develop your customer base. So these can be applied to your specific area of interest, or you can actually come in and learn about the topic that they're covering. So there are some courses I want to highlight. The first course I want to highlight is for undergraduates in the certificate program. Again, that's the course that comes out of our initiative that's focused on business essentials related to innovation entrepreneurship. We have a social innovation course, both at the graduate and undergraduate level that occurs in the fall. We have a technology commercialization course that has an undergraduate number, but last year we had a huge demand both at the grad and undergrad level, depending on if you're allowed to take, if you're a graduate student, an undergraduate course. Great course to understand how you take your technology that you developed, whether it's in the lab, whether it's a new invention, and how you commercialize it. For the people who haven't heard, there's been a long-standing tradition at Fuqua for the program for entrepreneurs. And the program for entrepreneurs is a way to help people launch a venture and get course credit for it. There's 3 courses related to that, New Ventures 1, 2, and 3. And it takes people from the opportunity, kind of the evaluation stage, all the way through the operating plan stage. There's a whole process to getting involved in this course. There's actually starting to finalize at the end of this month. And then those teams will start with New Ventures 1 and go all the way through. So if this is something that you're interested in, I have the contact person at the end here, or you can kind of start back up on that process next July, depending on where you are in your program. And the last example I have here is for primarily for undergraduate students, Duke and Silicon Valley, going to Silicon Valley for a month in the summer term, using that as an experiential learning process, taking a course focused on companies and innovations coming out of Silicon Valley and the business methods that are used to make companies successful in that area, and using that as an experiential learning course and immersion experience. So some of the organization, clubs, ways you can get involved or ways you can have experience around INE is Startup Connect. We have 2 ways to do that. Startup Connect has a career fair in the spring, and that career fair is focused on startups. You can traditional go around the different tables and learn, but you also have a panel to talk about the uniqueness of searching for opportunities at startups, working for startups, lessons learned. And there's also a summer network. And the summer network is key nodes throughout the US, New York, Austin, Durham, the Bay Area, in which you go to your internship that you would have found over the summer, and then we bring everybody together in that local city, bring in alumni, have interactions where you can have some professional development, meet other interested interns in the area. So it enhances that internship that you're doing and brings out some more innovation, entrepreneurial lessons. The Duke Startup Challenge is both in its kind of ending stage of last year's group and its starting stage of this year's group. So that is really focused on helping individuals who have an idea take it through the different stages to actually, if you win the Startup Challenge, getting seed funding. So as you progress through the Startup Challenge, you get more and more resources and mentorship and feedback. But from the beginning all the way through, the goal is a learning experience. And at the end, it's a $50,000 prize to the winning team. And that is a great event to go to, and that's September 30th at 7:30 in Janine Auditorium. If you want to see, if you hear about pitches and what it's like to kind of be the finalist and kind of go up and talk about where you've been in your company and get that pitch out and be the winner of that grand prize, it's a great experience. I do have an example. Last year's finalist was 501 Carbon, and they're an energy offset company focusing on not only providing high quality gold standard carbon offsets, but also focusing on developing the communities that they're getting those carbon offsets from. And those were 2 Nicholas students and a Sanford student who were in that final pitch last year, and they're out now. They did not win, but they're out, and their company is still going today. So a fellowship program for undergrad students, the Melissa and Doug Entrepreneurs, and that is focused on helping entrepreneurs who have an idea, starting from the beginning of the ideation stage, translating all the way through to launching a company in a year. And Melissa and Doug is a toy company. Melissa was an alum of Duke, and they provide hands-on mentorship as well of other Duke alums. So social entrepreneurship. So Duke Engage Detroit is a Duke Engage program, and on that, it's focused on Detroit, where you go into Detroit and you work in community service organizations or local social entrepreneurship organizations. An example that they did related to energy was Next Energy, and Next Energy is focused on development. I had to look this one up for the example. Give me 1 second so I get it right. It's located in Detroit. Next Energy is a nonprofit organization established in 2002 to drive energy, transportation investment, and job creation in Michigan. So focused on energy storage, energy efficiency, and renewables. Just another example of how you can be involved in energy through one of our programs. If you're an undergraduate and want to participate in whatever forum, we have a Madagascar Sustainability Development Challenge. Madagascar is a unique place, both environmentally and sustainability case, so you can participate in that. 2 opportunities related to what we have for all students. Global Clinton Initiative University and Ashoka U. Both we are campus representatives for that, so we've gone through the process where Duke is a way that you can participate. Both of these organizations not only have a way to interact internationally with leaders, kind of challenge the world's most pressing problems, but actually the charge is before and after you have that experience, you go and actually make a difference and actually execute on your ideas. So let me bring you back to, in my last few minutes here, Doug Dietz. So what was his solution? So Doug realized he didn't have a lot of time, he didn't have a lot of resources. So he went out and he tried to focus on the experience. The experience was for the young girls how she couldn't go and they had to go on the machine and stay still, so they had to sedate her. So he went to talk with pediatricians, he talked with children, he went to the local arts museum, and he tried to understand how he could change the experience so that the patient would not be so scared and would sit still. So this is the solution they came up with. So they came up with a series of adventures, the MRI Adventures. So from the time that the child would come into the room to the time they went on and had the MRI and all the way through, they thought that they were on an adventure. So everything was decorated as if it was a ride and an experience, and this is the pirate ship experience. So the time they entered into the room, they greeted them, talked about how they were going to get on the ship and it could get rough and they had to sit still, and they went on the MRI. So the final part of the story is Dr. Dietz goes back to the same pediatrics hospital, goes back to the same room but now decorated in this, and in comes another obviously young girl in the pediatric hospital. She gets on the machine, she goes through the experience, sits still, listens, comes out, and asks when she can come back tomorrow for the ride again. So you can see that by being innovative and entrepreneurial, right, outside of something that you would think was a traditional of the Silicon Valley or the startup, this is an example of how you can apply innovation entrepreneurship to whatever you do, and how you can develop a core skill set of being risk-taking, iterative prototyping, getting on diverse teams, coming up with ideation, and coming up with solutions that you can execute on, and then have a solution that was not as expensive and redefined the problem of the MRI. Coming up events, if these things sound of interest to you, we have Entrepreneurship Week Everything I talked about is highlighted this week. We have an information session on the certificate. We have our INE Academy session. We have Duke Law Clinic coming and doing open office hours to people who want some advice on their ideas and their inventions. We have our entrepreneurship fair for all the organizations and clubs that you can participate in. We also have the Startup Challenge finale and then the Brown Bag Lunch. We have, I wanted to highlight some spaces that you can participate in. We have a downtown space, the bullpen, excuse me, and then we have the Foundry. So the Foundry is on campus, a makerspace, and the downtown space is a collaborative space where you can you have meetings, have events all around bringing people together. So contact us. Here is kind of the groups that would have kind of, if I didn't answer your question or piqued your interest. Education, you see my name there, and then we have student activities and the P4E. We have Howie and Marie Angela, and the social entrepreneurship. We have Matt Nash and Catherine Black. So I have a couple